You know that feeling when something doesn't add up, but everyone insists it's true? That's what happened when Elvis met the couple who claimed his song saved their marriage, a marriage that started before Elvis was even born. Harold and Dorothy Williams had the math all wrong, but somehow they were also completely right. And when Elvis finally understood what was really happening, he created an anniversary surprise that broke the laws of time itself. If you believe that true love can transcend time and that some miracles are too beautiful to explain, you're going to want to see every second of this incredible story. Hit that subscribe button because what you're about to witness will change how you think about love, music, and the impossible. March 14, 1976. Elvis Presley was signing autographs after his concert in Birmingham, Alabama, when an elderly couple approached him with tears in their eyes. Harold Williams, 82, was supporting his wife Dorothy, 80, as she clutched a worn photograph to her chest. "Mr. Presley," Dorothy said in a trembling voice, "we've been waiting 60 years to thank you." Elvis smiled warmly. He loved meeting longtime fans, especially couples who'd shared his music through the decades. "Well, thank you for being such loyal fans. What can I sign for you?" But what Dorothy said next made Elvis's pen freeze mid-signature. "Your song, Love Me Tender, is the reason Harold and I got married. We heard it on our first date, June 15, 1916, and we knew right then we were meant to be together." Elvis stared at the couple. The math didn't add up. 1916? He wasn't even born until 1935, and Love Me Tender wasn't recorded until 1956. But here were two people, obviously sincere, claiming his song had united them 40 years before it existed. "I'm sorry," Elvis said gently, "but I think there might be some confusion. Love Me Tender wasn't recorded until 1956. Harold and Dorothy exchanged glances, the kind of look that passes between people who've shared 60 years of secrets. "That's what everyone says," Harold replied. "But we know what we heard. Would you like to see the proof?" Dorothy opened the worn photograph she'd been holding. It showed a young couple dancing in what appeared to be a 1916-style ballroom. Written on the back in faded ink were the words, "Harold and Dorothy's first dance, Love Me Tender, June 15, 1916. But here's where it gets really impossible. As Elvis studied the photograph, he noticed something that made his hands shake. The young man in the picture looked exactly like him. Not similar. Identical. Where did you get this?" Elvis whispered. "It was taken at the Peabody Hotel in Memphis," Dorothy explained. "There was this mysterious singer that night. Nobody knew his name, but he had the most beautiful voice. He sang just one song, Love Me Tender, and then he disappeared. Harold asked me to dance, and, well, the rest is history." Elvis couldn't stop staring at the photograph. The man in the picture had his face, his build, even his distinctive hair. But that was impossible, wasn't it? "Do you remember anything else about that night?" Elvis asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Harold nodded. "The strangest thing. After the song ended, the singer looked right at us and said, 'When you hear this song again, remember this moment.' Then he walked out into the night, and nobody ever saw him again." That night in his hotel room, Elvis couldn't sleep. He kept studying the photograph, trying to make sense of what seemed impossible. Finally, he called his manager, Colonel Parker. "Colonel, I need you to do some research. Find out everything you can about the Peabody Hotel in Memphis, June 15, 1916. 3 days later, Colonel Parker called back with information that would rock Elvis to his core. "Elvis, you're not going to believe this. I found a newspaper article from the Memphis Commercial Appeal, dated June 16, 1916. There was indeed a mysterious performer at the Peabody Hotel that night. The reporter described him as a young man with an otherworldly voice who appeared from nowhere and vanished just as mysteriously. But that wasn't the most shocking part. Elvis, the reporter wrote that the singer looked as if he had stepped out of the future itself. And get this, the article mentions that he sang a song nobody had ever heard before, something called Love Me Tender." Elvis felt the room spinning. How could he have been in Memphis in 1916, 40 years before his birth? But the evidence was mounting. The photograph, the newspaper article, the couple's unwavering story, it all pointed to something that shouldn't be possible. That's when Elvis remembered something that chilled him to the bone. A dream he'd been having since childhood. In the dream, he was performing in an elegant ballroom, singing Love Me Tender to a young couple who looked exactly like Harold and Dorothy. He'd always dismissed it as just a strange recurring dream. But what if it wasn't a dream at all? 3 months later, Harold and Dorothy Williams were celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary at their modest home in Birmingham. Their children and grandchildren had gathered for a small party, but something was missing. Dorothy had mentioned to her family that her greatest wish was to hear Love Me Tender performed live one more time, the way they'd heard it that magical night in 1916. At exactly 8 p.m., the same time the mysterious singer had appeared at the Peabody Hotel 60 years earlier, there was a knock at the door. Harold opened it to find Elvis Presley standing on their front porch holding an acoustic guitar and wearing a simple black suit remarkably similar to the one in the 1916 photograph. "I believe I owe you a song," Elvis said with a smile that seemed to span decades. What happened next defied everything anyone thought they knew about reality. As Elvis began to play Love Me Tender in the Williams' living room, something extraordinary occurred. The room seemed to shimmer, the walls appeared to fade away, replaced by the elegant ballroom of the Peabody Hotel. The guests at the anniversary party found themselves dressed in 1916 fashions, and Harold and Dorothy, they were young again, exactly as they appeared in the mysterious photograph. But here's the most incredible part. Everyone present experienced this transformation. 23 people witnessed Harold and Dorothy become their young selves, dancing to Elvis's song in a ballroom that existed 60 years in the past. As Elvis sang, the past and present merged completely. The elderly couple's grandchildren watched their grandparents dance as teenagers, moving with grace and energy that defied their 80-year-old bodies. The room was filled with the golden light of a summer evening in 1916, and everyone could smell the magnolia blossoms that had been decorating the Peabody Hotel that night. When the song ended, the vision slowly faded. The ballroom dissolved back into the Williams' modest living room. Harold and Dorothy were elderly again, but something had changed. They were glowing with a happiness that seemed to emanate from their very souls. "Thank you," Dorothy whispered to Elvis, tears streaming down her face. "You've given us our moment back." Later that evening, as Elvis prepared to leave, Harold pulled him aside. "I need to ask you something, son. How did you know to come here tonight? And how did you do what you just did?" Elvis was quiet for a long moment. "Harold, I've been having a dream about you and Dorothy since I was a child. In the dream I'm singing Love Me Tender to a young couple in love, and I know somehow that their happiness depends on that moment. I never understood it until I met you." "But that's impossible," Harold said. "You'd have to have traveled through time." Elvis smiled. "Maybe love is stronger than time. Maybe when two people are truly meant to be together, the universe finds a way to make sure it happens, even if it means bending the rules of reality." Word of the anniversary miracle spread quietly through Birmingham. The Williams family had agreed to keep the story private, but 18 grandchildren couldn't keep such an incredible secret forever. Soon other elderly couples began coming forward with similar stories. A husband and wife in Nashville claimed they'd heard Elvis sing Can't Help Falling in Love at their 1914 wedding. A couple in Atlanta insisted that Elvis had performed It's Now or Never at their engagement party in 1923. All of them had photographs, all of them had witnesses, and in every photograph the mysterious performer looked exactly like Elvis Presley. Dr. Margaret Foster, a quantum physicist at Vanderbilt University, became fascinated by these reports. She interviewed dozens of couples and examined their evidence with scientific rigor. "What we're looking at here," Dr. Foster explained to a colleague, "appears to be some form of temporal displacement, but not random displacement, targeted, purposeful intervention. It's as if someone is using time travel specifically to ensure that certain love stories happen." Her research led to a startling conclusion. There were at least 47 documented cases of Elvis appearing at romantic events before his birth, always singing songs he wouldn't record for decades. When Harold Williams passed away in 1978, just 2 years after their anniversary miracle, Dorothy was inconsolable. The family worried she might not survive the grief. But on the night of Harold's funeral, something beautiful happened. Dorothy later told her daughter that she heard Love Me Tender playing softly in her bedroom. When she looked toward the sound, she saw Harold as a young man, dancing alone and gesturing for her to join him. "I knew then," Dorothy said, "that our love really is stronger than time, and someday when it's my turn, we'll dance together again in that ballroom where it all began." Dorothy Williams lived to be 94, passing away peacefully in 1990. At her funeral, her granddaughter played a recording of Elvis singing Love Me Tender, but it wasn't a studio recording. It was a bootleg tape someone had made of that magical anniversary performance. As the song played, several guests later reported seeing a shimmering in the air near Dorothy's casket, and the faint outline of a young couple dancing together one last time. Today, the Harold and Dorothy Williams story is part of Elvis folklore, filed away with other unexplained phenomena surrounding the king of rock and roll. The photograph from 1916 is displayed in a private collection, and scientists are still trying to explain how it's possible. Dr. Foster's research continues, and she's documented over 200 cases of Elvis appearing throughout history, always at moments when love needed a little help from the impossible. Here's what we learned from Harold and Dorothy Williams. Love doesn't follow the rules of physics. It doesn't care about timelines or impossibilities. When two people are truly meant to be together, the universe conspires to make it happen, even if it means sending a voice from the future to ensure their first dance happens. Elvis understood this better than anyone. Whether through dreams, divine intervention, or some form of cosmic responsibility, he spent his entire existence, past, present, and future, making sure that love stories had their perfect moments. The Williams story teaches us that some things are more powerful than time itself. Love, music, and the connections between souls can reach across decades, across impossibilities, across the very fabric of reality to touch the moments that matter most. Every time you hear "Love Me Tender," remember Harold and Dorothy Williams. Remember that their 60-year love story began with an impossible song, sung by a man who wouldn't be born for another 20 years. And remember that if love can travel through time to find you, then maybe, Ninus, just maybe, the impossible is actually inevitable when it comes to matters of the heart. This incredible story proves that love really can conquer all, even time itself. If Harold and Dorothy's time-defying romance touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel and share this story with someone you love. Let us know in the comments about the song that defines your love story, because you never know. Maybe it's more magical than you ever imagined. And remember, when it comes to true love, the impossible is just another word for destiny waiting to happen.